We'll begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Manager Layton.
Thank you, Mayor. Start off with the agenda for April 1st. Got 3 proclamations on the first page. 5 people already signed up for the public agenda. That's all I have on pages 1 and 2. On page 3, we have 2 items that are coming back to you. You asked those to be placed on the April 1st agenda. They are lease extensions for 2 spaces in our property at North Mead. We are still negotiating the lease terms with those tenants. So we asked the council to table this, and we'll bring them back when we can reach acceptable terms.
Do you know about how long?
Their extensions only go into April, so everyone's gonna have to make decisions fairly quickly about the lease terms. One's terminates on April 20th, the other on April 30th.
So we will have the formal motion to table this
Yes,
at the council meeting on Tuesday.
correct. Both of those items. I'm sorry? That's right, because one has 307 and 309. The second item is an appeal of a Historic Preservation Board decision regarding the demolition of a duplex on North Park Drive. This is an appeal actually filed by MABCD due to the condition of the property. There's also the second item that follows this that would have the council declare the property a dangerous and unsafe structure if the appeal is granted. On page 4, number 3.
Has this location had any first responder calls, fire calls, police calls?
Police calls, I believe. I'm not sure about fire, and this has been an issue in the neighborhood for several years, if I remember the time frame. Yep. Okay. On page 4, number 3, this would approve a project budget for the acquisition of a building and parking for the police department's traffic bureau, and the actual purchase of or purchase contract for the parking lot. We'll bring the purchase agreement for the building after it's cleared by HUD for disposition. Number 4 would initiate the process to consider the placement of the Crown Uptown Theater on the Wichita Register of Historic Places.
The initiation was started by the Historic Preservation Board?
No, in this case, we were asked by Councilmember Johnson to bring something forward. This would have the council initiate the process.
Has this happened before?
I can't remember in my time that we've initiated an action like this. The ordinance really allows it for private property to only come one of 3 ways. Council can initiate it, the Historic Preservation Board can initiate it, or the property owner. Or I say there's a 4th. Adjacent property owners or property owners in the area, if they have the approval of the property owner, could also file.
How long?
All this is to start the process, not, you'll eventually, if there's a recommendation to place it on the register, then it will come to you for final approval. It'll be reviewed by the Historic Preservation Board first.
Okay, how long does that process take?
I can't tell you for sure. Okay. And I think I've indicated to you, we've hired a consultant to review the application, and so they have to review all the pertinent data to determine whether or not it should be on the register.
Okay.
Number 5, I apologize, this should actually be on the consent agenda. This is simply a transfer of title for a retired IRB issue. So we'll make sure in the final agenda that's rolled into the consent.
We'll pull it.
Yeah, we'll go to consent. If I could put all of this on consent, no. Okay, on page 5, number 6, this would approve a grant submission to the state of Kansas for cybersecurity enhancements in the amount of a little over $1 million. Number 7 would approve the purchase of 12 Public Housing Authority properties for $575,000 in CDBG funds and the allocation of an additional $900,000 in CDBG for the rehabilitation of the properties. These properties, after they're renovated, will be sold. On number 8, this would approve $5 million in GEO-funded building improvements and $3.6 million in transient guest tax funds for improvements at C2 and one of our museums. I'm sorry? Its total is $8.6 million. On page 6, number 9 would approve a revised budget for the public art concepts, or excuse me, approve the revised budget and the public art concepts for the Douglas Improvement Project from Seneca to Meridian. Nothing else on page 6. On page 7, number 1 would select a city council panel to hear a security permit appeal.
May I go back? So council business? Council business?
Yes.
Was that
Oh,
not
I
added?
am so sorry. That should have been revised on here, Mayor. Well, actually, yeah, it would be, no, there it is. I'm sorry. Councilmember agenda, number 2. Is that what you're looking for? Yeah. So the first one would be selecting an appeal panel, and then the second item is discussion of the proclamation process. We'll make a short presentation to talk about some internal changes we made in process, and then I think there's probably a few policy questions for the council to discuss. That's all I have on page 7. On page 8, 4A would approve a contract with K-State for the continued management of the Little Arkansas River Watershed Protection Plan. I have nothing else on 8, 9, or 10. Page 11, number 11, would allow Flixbus and Greyhound to code utilize space at the transit center. Number 13 would approve a claim settlement related to the 4 Mile Creek Water Quality Reclamation Facility. That's all I have on 11, nothing on 12. Page 13, just point out that 20 is actually tied back to item 7. And this, you will be agreeing to sell the 12 properties sitting as the Public Housing Authority. And then on page 14, number 22 would approve the forfeiture fund budget for the airport. And number 23 would acquire a property on the east side of Jabara. That's all I have for the April 1 agenda.
Just a quick question on the panel for the hearing.
Yes.
Are we still going on the same rotation from the last hearing that we had a couple weeks ago?
You may have missed the meeting. I think the council said that the council member from District 3 always says.
Always does it? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Only if I get the full robe and the old powdered wig or something.
I'll do that.
That's worth the picture. But anyway, I think, if I remember correctly, without pulling the report, this person is not a resident, so there's not a council district for one of those seats. So it's basically on your rotation schedule.
So who was it last time? It was your district, right? 5, 6, and 1. 5, 6, and 1.
I see how this is.
Enjoy that.
A real quick preview of April 8th. On page 2, item 2 is approving funding for the purchase of 2 aerial platform trucks. Page 3, number 3 would approve $400,000 for the purchase of miscellaneous fire equipment. Number 4 would approve $2.5 million for continued replacement of fire radios. Number 5 would approve $1.2 million for additional self-contained breathing apparatus. Number 6 would approve a grant application for a juvenile crime prevention grant. Number 7 is our annual neighborhood improvement program. Actually covers 3 projects, one on 27th Street, one at 21st and Market, and the third for the Mid-American All Indian Center parking lot. Nothing on page 4 or page 5. Page 6, 3A are design agreements for 3 capital improvement projects. This would be the selection of the design teams. 3C is the design contract for the Southwest Station, fire station that would be located at Pawnee and Mays. It's intended that this design contract would serve as a model for additional fire stations in the future. Then page 7 is number 6, revisions to our transportation agency safety plan. So that's it for the previews for the 8th.
Quick question. I know it'll come up on the 8th, but on the fire apparatus, is that still like a 3 to 5 year window on getting those?
Yeah, is the chief here or somebody from the department? Chief Snow?
Yeah, this is Chief Snow, but yes, it's 4 years, 48 months is what they're saying, 36 to 48 months, depending on the apparatus.
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah.
If you don't have any other questions, I think Marley is joining us as well.
Yes, I am here. The legislature adjourned just before midnight last night. They will return on April 10th for veto session. At that time, the legislature will run any conference committee reports that were not run during regular session in attempt to override any of the gubernatorial vetoes. Just a quick update on some of the issues that we've been following. The budget bill did pass. It does include $3 million for the Sunflower Summer Program, bringing the total of the program to $3 million for fiscal year 2026. There was also a proviso added to expand STAR bond projects to include malls. The conference committee report now goes to the governor for her consideration. The governor can line item veto items in the budget. The conference committee report on the Astra Fund, I know that this was a bill that was concerning to many. Thank you all that reached out to legislators. At this point, the bill has not run. We think we have it tamped down, but you never say never during the legislative session. It may come back up during veto session. The conference committee report on the constitutional amendment to enact a 4% cap on residential property. That did pass the Senate, but failed to pass in the House on a vote of 37 to 88. The Bankers Association Local Fund Deposit Bill. The bill was agreed to by local governments as well as the Bankers Association. The bill is now on its way to the governor. The Sedgwick County bill to allow for a reduction in the mill levy without a reduction to the sales tax formula that enacts a freeze to the sales tax formula was put into a conference committee report. That report has not run on both sides, so it will be taken up during veto session. Looking at some of the WPD issues, the scrap metal bill was inserted into a conference committee report and will be run during veto session. And the auto theft bill was also agreed to in conference and will be finalized in veto session as well. The elimination of the affordable housing tax credits, there will be additional negotiations during veto session. The legislature does want to come to a compromise on that. And the historic tax credit is voted on and will now go to the governor for her consideration. A few other quick items. The fireworks sales bill was agreed to in conference, and it does add the firefighter memorial for Wichita, and that bill is headed to the governor as well. The local contingency fee contracts that Jennifer brought up a few weeks ago with concerns about, that bill did pass and is headed to the governor as well. The film tax credit bill will be either considered in veto session or it will be held over for next legislative session. And finally, there were some discussion about expanding CIDs to include alcohol sales. No amendment was offered during regular session, so that will be an issue for the 2026 session. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hello.
Marley, thank you so much. I
No,
know-
no, what? And I mean, I'm not doing it.
Who is that?
Paul, I think your microphone's on. Yep, thanks. Marley, thank you so much. We know
We've had
you.
that happen
You had a long night and actually a long session, so appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you guys, and thank you for your help in contacting legislators as well.
Mayor, just one point of privilege, if you don't mind. I'd also like to recognize the new Park and Rec Director.
that's what I was
who is
gonna say.
online with us, so.
Congratulations, Reggie!
Thank you all.
That- Director Reggie.
Thank you, City Manager. Comments from council members? Tomorrow is Vietnam Veterans Memorial Day. There are multiple events happening at Veterans Memorial Park, so invite the community to go and pay their respects. That is all. Have a great weekend.